Okay. Okay, and I'm live here. And okay, so I'm live on YouTube, but I cannot see your comments because I'm recording this on Zoom. So feel free to put any comments if you're watching. It's late at night. I don't know if anyone's watching, but you can put any comments in the chat or in the video when I'm done, and I will read them later or tomorrow. Anyway, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste. And I had such a busy day today. I didn't have an opportunity to watch a lot of Cory Booker, the senator from New Jersey's filibuster on the Senate floor. I'll read all about it tomorrow. I saw, a 10 or 15-minute thing with him talking, but he broke. I'm so proud of Cory Booker. Oh my God, the ancestors are so proud of Cory Booker. He broke racist Strom Thurmond's filibuster from 1957. He put that record to bed forever. Strom Thurmond stood on that floor to protest to keep segregation, and Cory Booker stood on that floor to protest what the current administration is doing to the people of the United States by taking, I call it this casino heist, taking money away from the people with Medicaid. First, they're coming for Medicaid. We know they're coming for Medicare and Social Security next. But anyway, I want to talk about the astrology of Cory Booker's chart, not about the politics of it so much. But I'll talk about what I want to talk about on my channel. And that's the end of that. Okay. So first of all, for people who know me, I'm Celeste Brooks, an astrologer, a coach. I'm also an intuitive, and I get what I call downloads about the astrology and just whatever. Anyway, I wrote this several days ago, but one of the things I guess it was a prediction. Yes, it was a prediction that this week on the Celestial Insights podcast, which is available everywhere you listen, like Apple, Spotify, it's also on YouTube here, all the things. I talked about how we would be seeing things about mythic heroes this week. Now, we're only at Tuesday. There's going to be more, but I want to focus on Cory Booker with this. Cory Booker is a positive story, but there's also very negative stories that are going to be unfolding this week. Yeah, so Cory Booker breaks Senate speech record in a 25-hour rebuke of the Trump administration. That's from Time magazine. And I wrote this on Sunday. Yeah, Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. It governs our beliefs, dreams, and illusions. It enchants. It also dissolves. It also deceives. It asks us to believe. And like I get these things, and this is not really a download as much. Well, it's a download because it's a download. It doesn't matter what I call it. It's from the brain of Celeste. The spiritual warrior, the mythic hero, talking about Neptune, the planet of illusions, magic, beliefs, spirituality, higher consciousness, all that, in the sign of Aries, which rules courage, independence, pioneering, conflict, and all that. Yeah. Now, the shadows of Aries can be like violence and being rude or tactless, all that, like impatient, impulsive kind of energy is shadow Aries. But anyway, I talked about the spiritual warrior. You'll see that all the time referenced with Neptune and Aries. The myth of the hero, Neptune, it's like the myth that you tell this amazing story of this person who did this feat that seemed impossible. The battle over beliefs, believe in yourself that you can do whatever. Onward Christian soldiers. Neptune is associated with religion as well. And rules our Aries rules the military. So stay tuned for that. Pop the balloon. This is one of I wrote on Instagram a thing about pop the balloon. Maybe at the end I'll read it. We'll see. But it's almost 9:30. I'm tired. I should go to bed. The Red Sea. Neptune rules the oceans or water bodies. Aries is ruled by Mars, the red planet. We're already seeing a lot of conflict on the Red Sea, but that's another thing. I think something big is coming over there I think it's going to happen at is it next? I forget which date I said. It might be April 7th or 12th, but it could be as late as the 26th. I'll talk about it when it happens. I'm not predicting what I'm thinking. I'm not saying it out loud. And Castaway, the movie. Yeah, and I was like, Castaway with Tom Hanks on the island by himself. Cory Booker stood on the Senate floor by himself. All he had was water, water everywhere, where he did have drops to drink, and he did this filibuster. Yeah, I'll show his chart in a second. I also, I post these every week on Instagram and Facebook. They're cross-posted, but each week I post about these 27-month cycles. They're called lunar phase families. Dietrich Pessin, an astrologer from Boston, discovered them working with her clients that there'd be a new moon. 9 months later, there's a first quarter moon at the same degree. And 9 months after that, there's a full moon. 9 months after that, but the sun is moving into different signs. The moon keeps at the same degree, and then 9 months after that, there's a last quarter moon activating your chart in the same place. I talk about these on the podcast every week, and there will be a story in your life if they're hitting a personal planet, angle, sensitive point within 5 degrees or so, but the tighter the better in your life story. And I talked about my favorite archetype is the maverick, a bold pioneer, a nonconformist, a creative force unafraid to blaze new trails. We just had this eclipse on the March 29th, which was Saturday, 3 days ago or whatever. Let me go to his chart. And then I'll come back to these. Okay. I want to make this snappy, but I like to talk and I don't have anything to stop me except the bed or Debo. Yeah. Okay. So Cory Booker, here is his natal chart. You can see he was born April 27th, 1969, 1:10 a.m. in DC. Now, he is an A-rated chart, so this should be pretty exact. Some things to note, he is a Taurus sun, like me, Virgo moon, and an Aquarius rising. So the Taurus sun gives him stability, endurance. It's the bull that can just start something and stick with it forever. All this Virgo energy is very health conscious. There's something about separating the wheat from the chaff, very embodied energy. And he started fasting last week, and all he had was water. Like, he's been preparing for this filibuster for days and days and days, preparing his physical body, such a Virgo thing to do, a Virgo moon, preparing the temple for this big event. And an Aquarius rising, and that gives him the concern about equality, the people. This is an air sign. Air communicates and connects. Yeah, These are some of the things that jumped out at me. And oh, an Aquarius energy is like, um, it also has this quality of being, you know, someone who breaks boundaries, who does things their own way, who's unique and individual. Yeah. So his whole chart is ruled by this Saturn in Aries. Interesting. Saturn in Aries rules his chart. Saturn at a karmic, anaretic last degree of the sign. And Saturn is technically in fall in Aries. He's on the verge of his second Saturn return. It's not coming for like 2 years, but Saturn's going into Aries soon. But the big thing about this, there's two eclipses work together. So there was an eclipse on March 14th. This is where we look for the big story. We look for what's going on in the eclipses. We're in eclipse season right now. So March 14th, there was a lunar eclipse in the sign of Virgo, where the south node in the moon activated this stellium. A stellium is 3 or more planets in the same sign, and he has his moon, Pluto, which is the planet of power, and Pluto is like Mars, the higher octave of Mars. So it's like, ooh, determination, like this well of, it's volcanic with its energy. And his Jupiter, the planet of abundance. Now he has Jupiter in detriment. It's actually in fall in the sign of Virgo. Interesting. Jupiter in Virgo in detriment he can work himself endlessly. Jupiter doesn't like to be in the sign of Virgo. It's an earth sign. Jupiter wants to be in water or fire. It loves to be in the sign of Pisces or Sagittarius. Interesting. And you see the south node is on his Jupiter. And the south node is a drain. Now, the south node has to do with, I also call it a bulldozer. I came up with that today. That's my new thing for the south node, especially when it's transiting for the collective. What it does is it like brings these themes up into to our attention, and especially the shadow energies of the sign. And so Virgo rules accountability, and right now there is a drain on accountability. Like just today, there was a blockbuster story released about one of the people, and there have been multiple people who were sent by this administration. He was grabbed off the street and sent to El Salvador. I just want to scream. He was here in this country legally he had asylum. He has never committed a crime. And he was sent into this hellhole prison in El Salvador. There's a man, I got to find his name. But we found that out today. But there are these horrors being done in the United States. And one of them was in this picking up people for their tattoos and sending them. Now, supposedly a lot of them were gang members, but there's story after story about people who never committed any crime. And this person was in the country legally, for sure, and sent there. But I don't want to get too off track, but we're going to be learning more and more and more and more and more about the horrors in just 2 months of what these monsters are doing. And I'll leave it at that. At the eclipse, the south node was on his Jupiter. Now, with the south node, when the south node's coming to one of your planets, what you want to do is you want to do something of service. Do something where it's not benefiting you necessarily, per se, And that's the best use of the South Node energy, or doing some inner work and healing shadows, or examining the shadows or something like that. That's the best things I've seen with the South Node coming to a personal planet, because otherwise there can be a real drain on things. And the moon is conjunct his Pluto. And Pluto power dynamics. He stood on this floor for 25 hours. I mean, this is a feat of strength that very few people have the will and the ability to do something like this, because you can't go to the bathroom or anything. I wouldn't last. I certainly wouldn't last here. Yeah, well, you never know with me. When I put my mind to something. But anyway, I have Saturn on my sun. But I'm not planning to do that. Anyway, that's the Taurus, the bull energy, having that fixed determination. And Pluto is on his ascendant, like empowering him to do a Herculean feat of strength. And in the eighth house, uh, the seventh house is the other, and the eighth house, and like your clients. So I will put his voters in here. And the eighth house is their money, their values, their resources. And I know he's talked a lot about what is being done with trying to gut Social Security, Medicare, all this kind of stuff. So the people he's talking about at this time, this was back in March now, but you see Uranus is on his Mercury. Uranus is one of the planets, it like has a worldwide significance. The Magi astrologers call it one of the planets of fame. It's like broadcasting a message, Mercury, to the whole world. And you can think Uranus, like you can see the light from outer space. You can think about that with Uranus to the degree on his Mercury at the eclipse, which the lunar eclipses, the emotions of the moment lead to action. So what's going on in the, yeah. And then opposite him is like opposite the sun, Saturn, like in his second house of his values, his resources, his beliefs, because Pisces is about beliefs. And you can see he has a north node at 29 Pisces, and Neptune's on his north node at that time, and merging with this energy. And so Neptune, like, he has become the first like mythic hero that's like an exciting thing since Neptune went into Aries on Sunday. Yes. And then we had this is really the eclipse, that the action. So the emotions comes with the lunar eclipse, the actions come with the solar eclipse. And so let's look at this. So this was Saturday's solar eclipse. See how 9 degrees of Aries, the sun and the moon met at 9 degrees of Aries, conjunct his 10 degrees of Aries Venus. Now, something that's very interesting about this is he has Venus retrograde natally in his chart, and it's 10 degrees. What did Venus do this year? On March 1st, Venus stationed direct, excuse me, on March 1st, Venus stationed retrograde at 10 Aries. So he had a Venus return where Venus stationed on his natal Venus retrograde. So right now with Venus retrograde, the sky is like reflecting what he has when he was born. He was born with Venus retrograde, meaning there's something very internal about his conversation about relationships. There's something, it's like a big thing. Either it's self-esteem, it's relationships, it's something that is really a big deal about him. It's a big topic. Now he's never been married. He's like relationships are very private for him, as far as I'm aware. I know he was dating Rosario Dawson. I don't know if he still is. Whatever. There's a big Venus story in his life. But the fact that Venus stationed on his Venus is really interesting. And Venus in his chart rules his fourth house of home, family, and foundations. Mm. And it's his ninth house of legal affairs, the law. I already said the law, higher education, long distance travel, that sort of thing. And okay, so Venus stationed then, and now it's back in Pisces, and Mercury stationed at 9 degrees of Aries, and then went retrograde on March 14th, the same day as the lunar eclipse. Yeah. And so Venus and Mercury, and there was a solar eclipse all at 9, 10 Aries. So this is like really juicing up his things, because the retrogrades, when they station on one of your planets, it's like a branding iron, and Venus brings blessings. Now the Venus unites. Venus rules popularity. Mercury rules speech. Um, Mercury rules thought processes and communication. So you can think about his Venus has gotten this huge dose of Venus, Mercury, and now this big shot of energy with the solar eclipse. And you must watch, if you haven't seen it, there's a documentary called Street Fight, which is about him and his races to be mayor in New York. And he was competing against a figure who's very similar to the current president of the United States, just dishonest and a corrupt figure. And that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. And if you disagree, that's fine, but this is my opinion. It's my channel. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it. Yeah, that's my thought about that. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting very feisty about this today. Anyway, pardon me. Anyway, yes. And so this is what we saw at the solar eclipse. Eclipses seed, the solar eclipse is seeding things. The lunar and the solar work together, and they open but the solar eclipse is the big thing. The lunar eclipse is an artifact of the solar eclipse. So this big shot we've got, opens a 6-month cycle, and you can look back if something happened in your life like really big, you got married, you fell and broke an arm, whatever, you can go back to the solar eclipse before the event, and you'll probably see the story there. Yeah. Or the moon. You'll see it in the new moon before it happened, but also likely the solar eclipse before it happened. Okay. So yeah, and Mercury was on a world point of 0 Aries at the solar eclipse. So I said we were going to be seeing mercurial things that get a lot of attention. World point suggests something gets a lot of attention. So Mercury in Aries, a speech by one person, Aries is independent, on the Senate floor. Yeah, Senate floor, talking about the people. Virgo rules the common person. Aries rules fighting. He's fighting for the common person. his desire to help as a senator, the people, he put his body at big risk. The man is 55, about to turn 56. This took a huge toll on his body that, could take time off of his life. But he was so passionate and so determined. He took this risk for his own physical safety and did this. That's his sun reports into Venus in Aries, which is in detriment. Yeah, Venus does not like to be in Aries. Yeah, but right now Venus is back in Pisces, um, at the solar eclipse conjunct Neptune. He is the mythic hero that people are going to admire and study and all this kind of stuff for this big speech. And Venus is conjunct the North Node. What Venus is exalted in Pisces, exalted, lifted up with a special seat at the table. What more exclusive, and Pisces rules groups. What more exclusive group is there than the Senate? There's only 100 senators out of 300 million people plus in the United States. Yes, so an exalted group. Yes. Now, Venus is retrograde. The Democrats are not in power. They're retrograde. And let me give you some keywords. Let me look up my notes so I can, I get so on it. And I'm tired. It's late. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Let's see. What did I want to say? Oh, Venus is in detriment. Like, it's not in control. Yeah, the Democrats aren't in control. A lack of power. Now, willing to act in an imbalanced and extreme ways can be, and actively receiving damage in one's environment can be retrograde. And you can see that Venus in retrograde, him doing all of this stuff and being out of power. Yeah. Now is there retrogrades speak to, like, you're ready to amp up conflict. Yeah, they can bring conflict, disagreements, the collapse of what was contemplated, and a lot of other things. Let's see. What else do I want to say about this? I think that's all I need to say about this. Yeah, and Mars in his sixth house it's a workhouse, routines, rituals. It's also the house of ill health, and you see Pluto and Mars here. So he's driven to take this action that's causing a drain on his health. But look at Mars is direct and it's in a perfect trine with his midheaven. Mars trine midheaven. He's energized. He's fighting. He's fighting for the American people. The American people, America, the country, is a sun in Cancer. Yeah. And like his Scorpio midheaven, powerful, liking the power and having the comfort. He's a powerful person, one of the senators, one of the most powerful people in the world. Yeah. Anything else I want to say about this? Oh, I know. Neptune is now in Aries. So Neptune is now at 0 degrees of Aries. So on the day of the speech, let me see, what time was the speech was today, and at 8, he 24, 5 hours, let's do dynamic by wheel. Today at, and I've been telling you, we're having an April Fool's Day like no other. The Wisconsin Democrat judge won despite Elon Musk putting 25 million and trying to buy people's votes and all of that mess. At 8:48, so that would be 11:48 a.m. today, there was a waxing crescent moon. So we had the solar eclipse, and now we have the waxing crescent moon. The Democrats, this is just the beginning of the Democratic fight back against the the authoritarian regime. So you can see the sun is at 12 degrees of Aries and the moon is at 27 degrees of Taurus. It's a waxing crescent moon. And you see, I'm calling it the 27 club. You see how the moon is trine his Jupiter and the south node. So the people are watching this famous representative of the people, famous Jupiter. And he's talking about legal things, Jupiter. Virgo rules the common people. And the South Node, you watched him like losing energy over time, talking for 25 hours. The moon rules the people. That's what they're watching. Look at Jupiter right in here in his fifth house of self-expression in the side of Gemini. Talk. And moon is in a sextile with Venus, the north node, to the degree, also Mercury and a degree off, and his north node and the transit north node. He's in a nodal return. Yeah. A nodal return, amping up his destiny, like using the reinforcements of his core character, South Node. The South Node is what you come in this life with, your talents, your family, how you were raised, all of that. The North Node is what you're going towards. Oh my God, how exciting. Okay, what else? And near Uranus, yeah, he did a breakthrough. He broke through the speech limits that Strom Thurmond had done. Okay, and you see Neptune is at 0 Aries. Neptune and Aries, the spiritual warrior, the maverick, all these things. Yeah. So that's how you can see that. And what's happening next with Mars is going to between now and on April 26th is going to oppose Pluto. Yeah, so it's building up for this final fight with Pluto. We'll see. That's a whole nother story. I don't want to get off track too much. I'm already off track enough. And look at Jupiter's opposite, his Mars in Sagittarius. And when he was born, Mars was stationary. Very interesting. So Jupiter opposite Mars. He was so, he's talking and doing all this fight for the collective. Yes. And he is right now in his eighth house, an eighth house perfection year until his next birthday, which is the 27th of this month. So Mercury rules the eighth house. And look at this, his Mercury, Uranus is on his Mercury, giving him this like Uranus is the higher octave of Mercury, supercharged. And he's like on the world stage, doing this talk forever, breaking boundaries. This is, oh my God, what was his solar return? Now I'm getting all interested, and let's just quickly look. See, I don't have time for a lot, but let's look at his current solar return and his next. Let's see, his current solar return. Look at how behind the scenes that is. But look at that Mars Neptune. Look at this, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in his first house. Isn't this interesting? This is his solar return he's in now, and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in his first house, but he didn't give the speech until today. And then look at this moon in Sagittarius. King Kunk's his son. This speech is going to move him into a new situation. This is what King Kunkses do with with the public. And look at Mercury on the North Node. Now it's behind the scenes, maybe because the 12th house, it's the house of secrets. He had no idea. This wasn't even on his radar, maybe. I mean, I doubt it, to do all this mess. And look at Jupiter and Uranus trine his midheaven. Wow. And then his new solar return. Oh, it's the same thing. See, I'm gonna be so tired. Okay, the next. His next solar return. Look at this. Sun in the 10th house. Yep. Mars on his ascendant. There's something called the 5-degree rule. Look at this Mars-Pluto opposition. He is going, like, they'll be like, look, there's Cory Booker. He's the guy who stood on the Senate floor for 25 hours. And da 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 da. When he walks down the street and people see him, or they see him in a restaurant, they'll be talking about this Mars opposite Pluto for months and months and months. Yes. Absolutely. And within 5 degrees, the energy is exerted on the house here. So he's the hero that's rising. Yes. And look at his natal, the moon in his solar return chart. And a solar return starts coming in like a month or so before your birthday. So we can see the story in both of these charts, both of this year, the one he's in now, and what's coming. The moon at 22.5 degrees Aries, that's a world points. The world points are 0 and 22.5 of cardinal signs. That would be Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. 15 degrees of the fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, and 7.5 degrees of the mutable signs. That's Gemini, Virgo, Pisces, and Sagittarius. And look at this. What else do we want to see? His Mercury is back at 10. So on his Venus. Mercury is on his Venus. Yeah, people would be talking about him in a positive way, a lot of them. Yeah. Yeah, and Venus is separating from Saturn. So after this long battle and recovery, it's going to take him weeks to recover from this thing physically. Mm, yeah, Neptune in 0 Aries. Mars is trine Neptune. It's separating, but it's still got this trine. Jupiter in the 11th house of the collective. You can totally see this. And his sun is ruling the ascendant from the 10th house. Yeah, his star is shining brightly. Look at all this 9th house stuff. Is he going to be traveling all over the place? What's going on with all this 9th house stuff? Yeah, yeah. I mean, he does whatever. But broadcasting, he'll be on TV all the time. Yeah, more than he has been lately. Yeah. So let's look at this. This is pretty close to a world point. You go like a degree on either side, but let's not worry about that. That's no need to belabor the point. Okay. But his moon, the people, like his moon is on a world point for the next upcoming year. And what else do I want to say? Let's just look at his. Want to see. Look at this. His progressed sun is in his fifth house on a world point of 0 degrees of Cancer. Look at that. The fifth house is the house of self-expression. And we got Jupiter right here. We got the sun on a world point. And what else? And the progressed sun moves a degree a year, so it's going to be there for a while. And what else? Where's this moon? His progressed moon. I hope it's waxing. Yes, his progressed moon is waxing. Yes, it is. Now it's within 2 degrees of his natal Pluto. Hmm. So, ooh, he's under a lot of pressure for another 2 months. Uh, but it's a waxing energy. It's growing. Mm. In the eighth house, yeah, about 4 months ago, the elections. Ugh, yeah. Anyway, that's enough. I don't want to say anything else. Oh, look at this. Saturn's on his sun. It's been like that for ages. But oh, look at this. Okay. His progressed ascendant is conjunct Saturn. This is something I really want to talk about. He did this amazing feat of strength. And you see it with, okay, so this is a solar eclipse set in Washington, D.C. You see how the solar eclipse, I mean, it's conjunct the ascendant, yeah, never mind. I don't want to get into it, but there's something big that we're going to be aware of sometime soon. Okay. It's of an Aries nature. Okay. Probably by the full moon. What do I want to say? I want to say that I totally lost my track of thought. Okay. This is a big thing that's going on right now. And I've talked about it on the podcast. Either this week or last week, I talked about how Saturn and Uranus are in this sextile. And on Friday, Mars is already in orb. So it's got this energy of Mars trine Saturn, and both Saturn and Mars are sextile Uranus. Now, trines are typically considered, they are a soft aspect. What they can do is they remove all restrictions, but there's also this energy of things can go down the tubes fast, but it can also be like you exert your energy and Saturn it's with Mars, and Saturn gives it the staying power to hold the energy for a long period of time. So when you're thinking about this transit, think about what Cory Booker did, standing on that floor, talking for 25 hours to speak for the American people against this authoritarian regime, trying to take your Social Security, trying to take Medicare, trying to take everything and just give it. They're trying to turn us into Russia. Give it all to the rich. So there's just these, wealthy, look, oligarchs at the top, and then everybody else is like scrambling for pennies kind of thing. This is their vision of what they want. Mars trine Saturn, and he's speaking against this. Both sextiling Uranus, giving you the energy of breakthroughs. And I've been talking to people about this can be like you go to the gym and you're trying to lift something heavy. And uh, you keep practicing, and keep practicing, and maybe your goal is to lift 200 pounds over your head. Why you'd want to do that, I don't know, but people do. So you finally, after all these, there are going to be people who've been working on things forever. Between a couple of weeks ago and the full moon, who finally get and they pull it over their head and then they plop. They do that feat of strength. And there is the nature of, before I do that, let's go to Canva. And then I talked about eclipses and retrogrades for Kepler College recently. Not recently, it was like 6 months ago, whatever. It was in December. Is this the right one? Oh, no. What is this? Okay. Did I? Oh, I was going to do something, but I didn't. Okay. Okay, now remember, I called this lunar eclipse. I did this back last November, maybe December. I think it was November. But I called it Slash and Burn, the lunar eclipse. And Slash and Burn was about all these people losing their jobs. Wow. Anyway, this is called Watch Your Back. Oops. The solar eclipse we just had. Now, these are cycles that it relates back to. Oh my God, the wall falling in Russia. Anyway, this cycle is very physical. Accidents, great physical effort, violence, but great physical effort. Think about what Cory Booker just did. Now, in her book, Predictive Astrology, Bernadette Brady talks about, like, say you go skiing for the first time, like this great physical effort. She just recommends being careful with physical activities, because if you exert yourself too much, you can have an injury. There's a high risk of injuries with this eclipse, so keep this in mind. Now, it opens a 6-month cycle, but the energy is most intense between now and the end of the lunar cycle, but especially between now and the full moon on April 12th. But the next new moon is like April 27th. So this period's really a lot. But also when the sun is in Cancer squaring this, could be another time where people are more likely to hurt themselves. Oh, and I said protests, terrorism, cyber attack, fires, a healthcare strike. We know protests are happening. I wrote this back in November. There's a big risk of a cyber attack this Friday, just so you know, this week. Because Mars sextile Uranus could be a cyber attack. Saturn sextile Uranus could be a cyber attack where the system that goes down is down for like a week or two. So make sure you have stuff in your house in case. Because like if none of the ATMs or anything is working, you might not be able to use electronic payments. Fires, we're seeing fires. Yeah. We haven't seen terrorism yet, but there's a real high risk of terrorism right now. Just be aware. Oh, I said California in focus. Hmm. I said attacks on the opposition party. We just saw that today. This was an attack on the opposition party. Absolutely. Court-martialed. Ah. We'll see who's court-martialed. There's some people who need to be yeah, it's very important for Russia. It's very important for Russia. Vladimir Putin's car exploded. Yeah, that's another Mercury on a world point. He wasn't in it, but his car exploded. Yeah, his people tried to take him out or whatever, but it failed. Okay, let me wrap this up. Watch your back. Oh, yes. This is a must-have. The Wise Skies digital astrology calendar puts all the transits and everything on your desktop or phone or both or whatever. You go to tiffanyherlick.com, shop happy, use my coupon code ABC2025 for $10 off. She also has a workbook if you want it. You can use ABC workbook for $5 on the workbook. Yeah, I love Tiffany. She's one of my dearest friends. And yeah. Look, I actually called Mercury retrograde divorce court. Interesting. Anyway, yeah, well, we're divorcing the whole world in America with this nonsense. I'm so mad about all of this nonsense. But anyway, it is what it is. Okay, so I told you that. I told you about the Saturn trine, Mars trine Saturn. Actions, you've got the Saturn, the staying power to stick with it, sextile Uranus, making a breakthrough. Now, this can also be conflict that gets totally out of control. So if you're protesting this weekend, be careful. Bring goggles, bring something to protect your ear. This administration I can totally see them using weapons that have never been used before on American citizens. Be very ready for anything. Like in Serbia, they're using those NLD, LRADs, the sound weapons against people that can cause permanent hearing loss. So just be aware. Okay. Jenga meets House of Cards, the current energy and unexpected shoves exposes the weakness in a long-term structure. It crumbles in record time. This is the energy. So if you don't want to get in a fight this weekend with someone you don't want to end the relationship with, because the shove could all just crumble very quickly, and you'll be like, what? Yeah, we fight all the time. What happened this time? No, this time might be the last time. And I'm calling it also, this energy is the Bermuda Triangle. Because what's happening is Venus is moving into this energy, this Bermuda Triangle. And she's backing into this treacherous energy without her normal supports. And I'm really concerned about Cory Booker. I hope he rests up, because if not, he could have a health problem on Friday, or between Friday. He could have a health problem this month, and I don't want him to have a health problem. Yeah, he needs to get his rest and replenish his body ASAP. The interview, I know he has to do these interviews, but I hope he gets some rest. Yeah. Now, Venus is just going along, and she thinks it's a normal traffic between Scylla, the whirlpool from the Odyssey, and Charybdis, the Gila monster, or whatever that thing was, that was picking his sailors off the ship and throwing them off on his way to Circe's island. The boomerang is in her blind spot. There's something she doesn't see with Uranus. She has no idea what's coming. Yeah, this is the Mars trine Saturn, both sextile Uranus. This happens on the 4th, on the 7th, Mercury goes direct, the 12th, Venus stations direct, the 26th is Mars opposite Pluto. And I'm saying, yeah, he needs to get his rest, because I wrote this the other day. I wasn't thinking about Cory Booker. Where is it? Oh, I didn't put it here. But anyway, there's a big risk somebody is going to have a heart attack that's well known this month. So I really hope he gets his rest, as I don't want it to be him. Okay. Let's see, Mark, and I say that because Mars is in Leo, opposite Pluto in Aquarius. I've been getting, and it's too complicated to explain. It's not just that. There's a lot of other stuff. Now, other like Marie Le Pen, and I said mythic heroes going down. I talked about on the Celestial Insights podcast. What's this? This week's episode is called The Spin Zone. Oh my God, yeah. So Marie Le Pen, this is that French leader. So you can see this, you know, these eclipses, same eclipses, but different chart. Let's just look at the solar. I don't have the energy for the lunar. Uh, but the lunar hit her in the Pluto Uranus conjunction, the 12th house. She's going to see how it's South nodes. This is 12th house. 12th house rules prisons and whatnot. It's in her sixth house. The sixth house is a house of the sixth house is a house of bad fortune. And there's all this other stuff. Like this eclipse was near her Chiron. Mercury's on her Chiron. She's accused of embezzlement. She was born with Neptune stationing in the second house of resources, stealing money, sticky fingers, casino heist is very Neptune stationed in the second house because Neptune can be about deceit, deception. And look at Mars right at the top of her chart. She was convicted, Jupiter in her ninth house of legal affairs for embezzlement. Now, that's what she was convicted for. You see Uranus, oh, like opposite her Neptune in the houses of wealth houses. Yeah. Anyway, that's another person. This man who was taken to El Salvador. I mean, I just can't even. This is it. I hope these people go to jail. I've been thinking there might be some people in this administration might be going to jail. What they're doing, like the Signal Gate, this Maryland dad deported by mistake to El Salvador mega prison despite court orders. I think these people should be going to Hilmar Armando Abrego Garcia was deported there. He was here legally. Yeah. So he's another mythic hero. So they're mythic heroes that are positive. I'm calling Cory Booker. I mean, this horrific story about this man may animate people to stand up to the government. And what else? What else? What else? Marie Le Pen, she's like this far right in France, but they're people who love her, and she can't run for president again. I showed her chart for a minute. Putin is a mythic hero to some people. People tried to take him out. They didn't succeed. Yeah, but I talked about in the podcast, Trump, well, he lost the the Wisconsin election. Musk is a mythic hero to some. He is going down faster than a lead balloon. I didn't talk about him on my podcast, but I talked about Trump, the Jasmine Crockett. I'll have to show her chart another time. And Zelensky, I'm worried about him a little bit. I'm a little worried about him. Yeah, we'll see. Prayers up for all these people fighting the good fight, like Cory Booker, Zelensky, Jasmine Crockett, and yeah, anyone standing up to totalitarian type dictators for the people. Yes. He didn't remember Zelensky didn't want to ride. He wanted ammunition. Neptune and Aries. Yeah. Okay. I hope this was informative and that you enjoyed it if you watched it. Please like and subscribe. I should say those things ahead of time. I, yeah, I know all the things I'm supposed to be doing, but technically I'm retired and from my corporate career, and this is my passion and my purpose. And I'm here to help people see and learn about astrology, this beautiful language that can teach you so much about yourself, what you're here to do in this life, how you can understand all sorts of things, both the positives about your personality and the shadows you'd rather disown. And it's just such an amazing thing. And it helps you understand the times you're living in. And it's a calendar and a clock that helps you understand, we're in difficult times. We just have to accept it right now. The world is in difficult times. The yeah, Jupiter is in detriment. At least Venus, we get a few weeks of Venus being back in Pisces, exalted. But Venus was in detriment for quite a while. She's coming back to her detriment, so don't get too excited. Um, Saturn's getting ready to go into Aries. Oh Lord, that's going to be tough. But this too shall pass. Transits are transitory. Yes, Jupiter's going into Cancer in June. That may be something positive coming in. Yeah, Mars and Cancer. Ugh, in fall. This has been too much. But it's leaving Cancer, and after it blows past Pluto, we'll see. Well, once again, eventually it'll get into Scorpio. Anyway, let me just stop there and say that because I'm thinking, it's going to be a Leo. That gives you an opposition to Pluto and a square to Uranus. So, but this could be boundary breaking. Yeah. Keep hope alive. What's happening now? I think people may be held accountable at a later date for what they are doing now, and the people who we want to be held accountable maybe. So keep hope alive. And tyranny needs people to be silent in order to succeed. And in every single way, this is my little way of exercising my freedoms as an American citizen and speaking my mind. Yes, it is. And yeah, who knows? I could be thrown in the gulag at some point, but I'm not going to let that stop me from speaking my truth. No, I'm not. So here we are. Okay, take good care. I'm an Astrology by Celeste everywhere, astrologybyceleste.com. You can book a natal reading if you want to talk about your natal promise.